Fresh Brownies.
Welcome to Chapter 2, Black Star. Your Grace, we're under attack! A tall, thin guard dressed in crimson armor with the sun crest etched upon his chest plate and topped with a golden cape quickly burst into the room. His name was Roland, and he was the youngest ever to serve in the royal family as captain of the Celestial Knights. He was also the youngest of 5 brothers, who happened to be employed by the king as well. Their heritage preceded them, for it was his great ancestors, 5 siblings in fact, who were the first to capture a phoenix and tame it as their own. It was said they contained a spiritual connection in order to communicate with the mystic bird, and so earned the nickname, the Phoenix Five, assuming they were reincarnates of their former selves. Although Roland was the runt of the litter, and a bit skittish at times, he was an honest man, and his courage alone is what earned him the position as the king's right-hand bodyguard and sworn protector to the royal family. "We have to get out of here!" Roland's breath ran out. "Yeah, no kidding! How many are we dealing with out there?" King Rav regained his composure. "Kaboom!" Sounds of thunder crashed through the air as the ceiling rained debris onto the palace floor. "Well, how many are there?" he echoed impatiently. "Just one, sire." Roland shook nervously. "One person?" Rav uttered with disbelief. "Dad, take Celeste, go to the escape pods, and get out of here. I'll go down and put an end to this." Kai braced for the worst, while Celeste trembled at the notion of her father leaving. "Don't be afraid, my dear. This will all be over soon, and I'll return shortly." Her father spoke calmly. Promise? She whimpered, unsure if she would ever see him again. "I promise." He nodded with unwavering confidence as Rav pried open her walk-in closet where in the back was a hidden door and inside like a shrine from the heavens was her suit of armor, floating in the air as though dressed on an invisible mannequin. Only the highest honors were privileged to this particular uniform, for it was built with a special chrome alloy that expanded when heated. The sleeves were made of short black synthetic ribboning and consisted of a high collar to shield her dainty neck. It also had a golden chain sashed across the chest with a dark red cape that draped her left shoulder and skirt that fell just above the knee. Rav stretched it over her like a t-shirt by the warmth of his hands, while she placed her favorite steel headband on like a crown. "Be safe, Dad," Kai nodded to his father as she grabbed Celeste's hand. "You too, son. Now go kick some ass," he winked before storming out of the room with Celeste and Roland. "Send a messenger to the White Flame Palace and signal the transport unit that no one else is allowed access to this kingdom, including my grandchildren, Cyrus and Surya. Do you understand? We need to keep them away until it clears up," Rav ordered as they raced down the hall. "Yes, sir. Is there anything else?" Roland ran alongside him as his master turned with a cold stare and grin. "Yeah. Bring me the sword of Solaria," he beckoned. Roland was stunned. The legendary sword had only been used for severe measures, and even then it hadn't been touched in over a decade. Could this be a bigger threat than he imagined? "Yes, sir," he obliged, and took off to fulfill his orders. Meanwhile, Kai rushed to the front courtyard as huge beams and columns came crashing down around him. He swerved past as many royal servants as they fled to safety, trying to stay alive among the destruction that lay before them, until finally he arrived at the main entrance where his special operation military defense team met him. "General Zane," Kai called out to the clean-shaven brute with fiery red hair. He stood proudly in a suit of raven-black armor with a gold accenting the uniform and a phoenix crest stamped upon his shoulder. "Afternoon, sunshine," the brother of Roland and his third eldest of the Phoenix Five teased the elite guardian. Many years ago, Zane was on a course to becoming the captain of the Knights, but along the way had trouble following orders, in addition to destroying King Rav's prize garden during a training exercise. On the Day of Embers, Zane took it upon himself to face the Titan head-on, a decision he would soon regret. As the ferocity of the beast crushed him with a mighty swat of his hand, breaking every bone in his body like a fly in the wall. Remarkably, he survived, and from that day forward earned a new nickname, one that would stick with him forever by his comrades in arms. The Phoenix. For it's not every day a man cheats death and rises from the ashes of his former self. After a brief psychoanalysis during his stay in medical, he earned a second nickname from his physicians, Insane Zane. But it's all about whom you ask. Once healed, he was refused a position amongst the Celestial Knights, but found his strength in tactical warfare, and thus moved through the ranks to become general for the king's most prized military strike force, now known as the Phoenix Squad. What are we facing? Kai masked his history of contempt for him as Zane darted his eyes, then turned towards the enemy. Nothing we can't handle. Kai looked down as the soldiers unleashed a barrage of missile attacks against the unknown criminal in sight. Boom! 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 The explosions echoed with intensive rage. Cease fire! Zane ordered as his men pulled back their solar cannons. This weapon was a sleek piece of machinery designed as a high-caliber rocket launcher that released a powerful concentrated blast of solar energy with the destructive power of a nuclear device. Kai slowly approached the battleground while keeping a safe distance from the strike zone. He squinted his eyes, trying to make out who this mysterious threat could be. Sorry you had to come out for nothing, the general devilishly grinned. Let's hope so. Kai looked on with concern while they waited in silence for the smoke to clear. Zane laughed, breaking his attention. That's what happens when you go toe-to-toe with the Phoenix Squad, he mocked, but Kai could sense something was wrong as a cold chill ran down his spine. Oh. Zane's laughter was cut short as a body revealed itself, draped in smoke and unharmed from the hellfire, where a woman, fully masked in some type of futuristic, tightly fitted black military-grade armor with 2 hooked daggers straddled behind her waist, stood ferociously. Who is that? Zane marveled with surprise, while a trail of purple light hugged her slender curves. She was nothing like Kai had ever seen before. Maybe she's from the surface world. Her suit doesn't look like anything we have here. He compared her modern space-age uniform to his man-made armor. Who are you, and what is your business here? Kai called out with a tone of authority, but the woman remained quiet as she walked through the wall of flames that divided them. I said, where's your sun guardian? She interrupted with an artificial tone in her voice, while Kai looked at her with curiosity. I am the sun guardian and will not ask you again. Who are you? He commanded. She then stopped in her tracks. I am a descendant of the Kasumi clan, the captain of the Phantom Force, and I am here to claim justice against the Sun Guardian for his crimes, she called back with vengeance in her throat. Kai thought for a moment in hesitation. What crimes do you speak of? He asked as she clenched her fist. For the destruction of my homeworld and murder of my family, now bring me the other guardian now. She pointed at him while Zane looked at Kai with his eyebrow cocked. You murdered a family? He uttered with disbelief. I don't know what she's talking about. Kai baffled. Well, think of something fast, sunshine. She's coming this way and looks pissed. Zane readied for a counterattack. Meanwhile, Celeste and Rob made it to the launch pad located outside the back palace, which overlooked the edge of the kingdom. The docking station was moderately sized and held up to 3 shuttles. The largest craft, which had the dynamics of a military transport airship, could carry up to 12 passengers, but was currently on patrol with Cyrus and Sulia and their military task force, the Golden Gods. The next size down had a rounder shape. It was designed like a miniature rocket that could hold 2 passengers, while the final ship was substantially smaller with the head of a bullet and built for a single rider. Each shuttle was beautifully crafted with a gold finish and lined with a special coating that allowed riders to travel through various celestial realms on each planet. If, however, the lining of the shuttle was damaged, entrance could not be granted. We have to wait for my dad, Celeste begged her grandfather with urgency. We'll wait, don't worry. Rob looked out to the courtyard and spotted his son amongst the soldiers. Now, whom are you fighting? He eyeballed the battleground before locking onto a beautiful woman standing in the rubble. Hello, who are you? He mumbled perversely to himself. While back at the entrance, General Zane had signaled his lieutenant through a series of subtle hand gestures so as not to alarm suspicion to ready the gunner. Yes, sir, the lieutenant nodded as he immediately retreated back into the palace, passing Kai and his commander. Coward, the woman sneered as he fled in haste. By the Celestial Guardians, old and new, I order you to stand down. This is your final warning, Kai commanded, and oddly, the woman obeyed. You see, General, this can be resolved peacefully and without violence. Kai sighed with relief, but Zane paid no attention to him as he looked over his shoulder to the sky above. On my command, he signaled. What did you say? Kai, confused for the moment, glanced at him, then at the woman as she too was no longer fixed on him. What are they looking at? Oh no! Kai snapped his neck around to the tower behind them where a large turret had sprouted. It was the military's signature weapon and last line of defense, the Phoenix Cannon. A hyper-extended particle turret made of gold that drew its power from the magnetic energy of the sun. When fired, it released an ear-piercing shriek that could be heard faintly on nearby planets. Due to its immense size, it was designed for one shot in battle. It was last used 10 years ago on the Day of Embers, where the Titan of Destruction stood over 400 stories tall, with skin as dense as steel and the destructive power to break down mountains if they were made of sandcastles. When the creature first emerged, it fell from the fiery sky of Solaria with the sole purpose of tearing the city apart. It took Rav, Kai, and his brother Karl to subdue the monster, but it was the blast of the Phoenix Cannon that struck the final blow, piercing through its meaty heart and sending him back to the underworld. Kai lunged at Zane, knowing that a blast of this magnitude at close range would destroy their homeworld. "Don't!" he screamed, but it was too late. "Fire!" Zane ordered, as he would do anything to win, even if it cost the lives of everyone around him. Shriek! The cannon released a blinding white light that screeched across the battleground. Kaboom! The missile hit its target, while the castle shook from the tremendous force of its blast. Direct hit! Zane applauded with enthusiasm. An explosion of epic proportions sent shockwaves through the kingdom, knocking its citizens to the floor. What the hell's going on over there? Rav watched as a gust of energy moved at him like a tsunami wave. Grandpa! Celeste quivered from behind. Hold on! He instinctively covered her from swirling debris while the ship swayed from left to right, unhinging from their locks as a symphony of glass and metal intertwined, crashing to the ground and dwindling to nothing their hope of escape. Is my dad okay? Celeste slung to his chest, keeping her eyes shut. Rob valiantly squinted through the smoke, but to no avail. He's fine. Just keep your head down, he answered, hoping there was truth to his lie. Ping! Kai awoke, rattled, as a loud ringing filled his ears. How am I still alive? He wondered while emerging from the rubble. No one could survive that hit! General Zane grumbled with distress and was covered in soot. Kai watched with terror as the fire explosion slowly retracted to a central point, swirling faster and faster, as though caught in a vortex. The dust and embers began to lift from her feet like a curtain, unveiling a nightmare come to life, until she stood in a crater triumphantly, still unharmed and without a scratch. Her arm was extended high in the air, pulling the force of the blast into a tiny black hole until there was nothing left of it but a glowing black pearl of dark matter. From what hell did you spawn? Zane spouted while both men gazed with astonishment at what they just witnessed. Did you see that? A soldier pointed at the orb. It's been sucked into some kind of black star. The woman chuckled at their primitive knowledge of astronomical power. Black star. I like the sound of that. She continued to laugh at them in ridicule. I can't believe it. Kai was entranced by her ability. In a world of deities and immortals, this type of power never crossed his mind. She was an angel of death, with her hand raised high, acting as her guillotine. There was only one thing left to do, for he knew her wrath would soon unfold. Run! He yelled at the top of his lungs, breaking the hypnotic spell she had cast upon the men. Leaving so soon? But we've only just begun! She dropped her arm in a swift cut as a dark sphere relinquished the inconceivable blast against them. Shriek! Kaboom! The castle erupted like a cake of dynamite, clear through to the other side, while massive chunks of the palace hurtled towards the launch pad. Damn it! Rolf shrieked as he planted his feet and brought his hands together in a stopping motion. Grandpa! Celeste gripped his torso like a boa constrictor. Solar shield! His palms released a barrier of fire protecting from the tidal wave of destruction. Crash! The projectiles shattered into heaps of ash beside them. That was close. He fell to his knees in exhaustion while holding her near. We're okay, Celeste. He shielded her eyes away from the sight of what once was their home, their lineage, their history, and was now entirely in ruins. Grandpa, the ships! She pointed behind him. No. He assessed the damage of the remaining pods. The explosion had destroyed the two-passenger shuttle, leaving only one option. He looked at Celeste with a heavy heart, for she would have to go alone. Come on, we need to leave now. He moved with great urgency. You're coming too, right, Grandpa? She shuddered nervously as he looked back to find Black Star trudging through the remains and closing in on them. Yeah, of course, he hurtled her along with false belief. Meanwhile, Black Star scanned the rubble for any signs of life. She cackled, for there in the distance was Kai's crimson cape, ripped to shreds and partially buried in the rubble. One down. She basked in the satisfaction that he was finally dead before continuing on, only to spot Rob in the distance. And one to go. She stalked him. Crack! The sound of breaking glass snapped beneath her boot. What's this? She stared at the small framed portrait of a beautiful woman. It was Eldora, the same picture Celeste had in her room. She gazed at it with curiosity, then looked up and noticed the young girl by his side. Crunch! Black Star dug her heel across the elegant face of the former princess as she continued her warpath towards vengeance. And that concludes Chapter 2. Please tune in for the final chapter of this read, Chapter 3, coming soon only on Fresh Brownie.